Hi, it's Geoff Chalmers here from discoverdoublebase.com, which is the home of online video bass lessons and courses. And I'm joined here today by one of our tutors, the fantastic Joseph Conyers, who is a member of the Philadelphia Orchestra. He's the assistant principal bass player, I believe, in the orchestra. We're here today to talk to you a little bit about orchestral excerpts, because we've been filming a series of lessons about them. And I was just talking to Joe about the type of people who might be watching these lessons in the audience. And we were kind of talking about where in the journey of being a bass player you should start to learn them, what you should start to go through them. Is this something that everybody should be doing right from the start? Is there a point that you reach where it becomes important? Maybe you could speak on that a little bit.
Sure. I think it was a commercial, or maybe it was a saying that went through the States for a while, saying knowledge is power. And maybe that's just a saying, but I think
it's a saying.
Seeing it on TV, it was like part of it. Well, anyway. I think knowing about the excerpts and the pieces that they come from and learning the repertoire, I think that is important, because I think it is powerful because it helps with your training and development. I don't think it's the healthiest thing to be obsessing over excerpts, particularly at a super early age. I know, for example, and I think some people might be surprised to hear this, I don't know if Curtis even recommends or requires excerpts as part of the audition anymore. So I know. So some high school students are like, "Oh, I've got to have these excerpts prepared," and blah blah blah. They are important, but to try to learn all of them at the same time, as if you're trying to prepare for an audition in the next year when you're probably years away from your first orchestral audition. I think it's most important just continue to learn your craft, learn to play the instrument, go through the solo rep, build up your chops, because orchestra chops are very different from solo chops. But all the chops are very are crucial and important, just being the best overall musician and playing. So I would say don't stress when you're in high school about learning the entirety of all the excerpts that exist for taking a job audition. Learn the basics. Learn what's important for the auditions that you do have to take, and then study the repertoire. Learn the different styles. Continue to fine-tune your palette of articulations and strokes, because as you do that, then you'll be more apt to get a piece of music and just play it in the way that it should, because you have the tools to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that makes sense, because if you start without having the tools, it can be more frustrating than it can be helpful.
Yes.
That said, I hope some of the guidance I provided in the lessons and in the courses can be a guide to help start students on their way, on their journey, but also inform the more accomplished bass player who's ready to take it to that next level. Hopefully the courses helps them do that as well. I try to make it so that it fit all those, or checked all those boxes.
Do you remember your first audition, or the first time that you had to play orchestral excerpts in an audition?
I do.
Could you tell me about it, Joseph? I'd love to hear.
I don't know. It could be too traumatic. You want your audience seeing me break down.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard-hitting interview.
So I believe my first professional audition, and I've mentioned this on my Instagram account, was for the Philadelphia Orchestra. It was to be on their substitute pool. And it was a great experience, even though at the same time it was a little traumatizing, because all the work that you do, and this is really important to cover, all the work that you do, if you haven't practiced performance, if you haven't done trial runs, played for your friends, played for more teachers, played for people who might be very critical of your playing, so you can kind of have that feeling in your brain, you are in for a huge surprise at your first audition. Because all of a sudden I felt like it was the spotlight of judgment was cast down upon me, and then I had to perform. And I remember Hal didn't know who I was; it was behind the screen. But I just remember in his comments about my playing, it just was a little over the top. Everything was a little too tight, a little too. Being able to then learn all these techniques, but then under duress, be able to kind of be calm and play them at the highest level. That's another part of auditions that I think is not talked enough about, because you can learn all these excerpts to the nth degree and play them very, very well. It's very different to play them when you're under all that pressure in that moment. To do that. So that's a mental game that we have to play as well.
I think looking for those opportunities to play for people. I can remember being at college and my final recital, being really concerned about it, you know, and going to play for as many people as I could, as many as my friends, and as a bass department, everybody used to gather each week and play what we were working on. And I guess actually, although I wasn't part of this, you could also be gathering with your bass playing colleagues and friends and playing excerpts together. Sure. And learning from each other. There's so many. It's such a rich thing to suddenly go from the practice room straight into the audition. Right. Without having any real, maybe just playing for your teacher, and it's a very different feeling, isn't it? And yeah. Learning to kind of keep yourself calm and in control. I mean, so obviously going further forward, you have taken many auditions because you must have done to then win the seat that you have now in the orchestra. And did you kind of reach the point where you felt able to let go of these concerns and the stress? And
yes, it takes a lot of preparation and it takes a lot of self-confidence. It takes a lot to build that up. I felt like I had learned what I need to learn in school. Even when I left school, I knew I couldn't do all these things, but that's what I was always striving for. And you just have to learn to not care what's going on behind that screen. You just cannot care. And having sat behind that screen, you shouldn't care. Not to give anything away, but some people are just coming in, some people are having a bad day, some people are because they're people too. I think it's very easy to forget that the people behind the curtain for an audition, and I'm speaking in the States because that's how we audition, is behind the screen, are people too. And I mentioned this in another interview, but at the end of the day, most of us just want to be kind of awakened. And when I say awakened, just want to be entertained, because that's what music, we want to hear something that makes us happy and not has us writing down copious notes and kind of has us sitting back and going, oh yeah, this is fun. Yeah. That's kind of what the committee wants to hear. So the more I focus less on me being judged, and I mean, this is going to sound a little way out there philosophical, but I mean, it came down to this, me offering a gift to the committee. Because I mean, how much better of a player can I be in that moment than I was when I was in the practice room? I'm not gonna all of a sudden play better. I can only be who I am in that moment. And if you're really comfortable in your skin, if you really enjoy the music making, and if you really, and this is what I do, really think about connecting with someone behind that screen musically, then it's not about being judged, it's actually about giving something to someone. And it's an exchange. It's like giving someone a gift on Christmas morning or something like that, which is a very pleasant kind of feeling. Yeah. And that's the way I started to feel when I was taking auditions, because it wasn't about what they were thinking, it was about the ability to give and the appreciation of being able to give in that moment.
Wow. Well, I think that's a really wonderful way to leave the discussion there, Joseph. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's a great way to approach playing for people in general, and I'm sure in the audition circuit it becomes even more relevant to keep that in mind. So yeah, thank you. And if you want to learn more from Joseph, if you want to learn his approach to playing orchestral excerpts, then we will provide links to do so, and you can also check out his incredible Instagram channel, and we'll provide links about Joseph below so you can learn more about him if you don't know him already. So Joe, thanks for your time today, and thanks everyone at home for watching. We'll see you in the next video.